All right, so welcome to 30 Days of Pranayama. Today's day 10. We're about a third of the way through. I'm still in Florida, but enjoying doing pranayama with you every morning. So today's focus, I want to talk about a little bit more about the mechanisms of breathing. Yesterday I was talking a little bit about the diaphragm, which is the primary muscle of respiration, of course, and then we have secondary muscles of respiration. I'll talk about those a little bit more tomorrow. But today, the focus that I wanted to talk about is this idea that breath is, or air is, gas and not water. And I think that's an interesting thing to understand in terms of what's happening with the breath as it comes into your body. So when you're breathing in through your nose, the first place you're feeling, or in your mouth, the first place you're feeling breath is, sort of maybe in sinuses, nose. You feel it in the pharynx, in the back of the throat. And then you start to feel the breath move down your throat into your lungs. And then what's happening, because it's a gas, is that it's diffusing here, right? It doesn't go down into your belly. And so the reason I'm talking about breath as gas, as opposed, the opposition would be breath as water, because many times you hear people say, breathe into your belly. And you can't breathe into your belly. There's no breathing into the belly, because if you were breathing into the belly, it would be more like pouring water in. So just think about that for a moment. As you breathe in, and the breath necessarily has to diffuse in the upper tissues of the lungs. And then it starts to move. As you breathe more deeply, the lungs start to expand, and then you can breathe deeper into, this lower area. There's shape change in the chest because you're bringing more volume in, right? There's no shape change in your belly. There can't be, because if you were breathing into your belly, we'd have to rush you to the emergency room, right? You can't breathe into your belly. But that doesn't mean that you can't do a little bit more of breathing, of using that deeper breath to expand the lower parts of the respiratory apparatus, and to let go of the abdominal muscles at the end of your inhale. That can be a really useful way of breathing. So you let the breath subtly flow in. It's going to diffuse in the upper tissues of the lung, but then releasing the abdominal muscles helps you release that the pelvic floor muscles, right? So we let everything go, and you can visualize as you're breathing deep down into that lower part of the torso. So this is my point: is that it's a more of a metaphor, right? So breathing into your belly is a metaphor, and we have to be really clear about that as yoga teachers, as yoga professionals, that we're not telling people that they're breathing into their belly. Rather, there's a diffusion of the breath first in the upper parts of the lungs. That's where it's supposed to happen. Then it can move into the lower tissues. Then the abdomen can release, and the pelvic diaphragm can release, and that is so beneficial to the parasympathetic response of the nervous system. So the nervous system is able to respond with sort of a response to that releasing of the muscles with more parasympathetic activation. And I'm going to get to, please keep watching these, because it's so important to understand what's going on with the nervous system and breathing. And it's perhaps not what you think. It's not just the sympathetic revs up on your inhale and the parasympathetic revs up on your exhale. It's much more sophisticated than that, and nuanced and interesting. So please keep watching, and I'll get to that eventually. But for today, we've already been here for 4 minutes. I'm trying to keep these videos short. Let's do 360-degree breathing again. And we did that a little bit yesterday, and you want to think about a sphere or a ball. I like to think about Buckminster Fuller's triangle balls that go, the toys that go big and then small. So you think about that kind of toy as you're breathing. And you can do this right now. Nice tall spine, soft shoulders, soft muscles in your face, soft eyes, softness around your mouth. And as the breath comes in, sort of visualizing it moving deeper than the lungs, and then the superficial or the most superior tissues of the lungs, going a little deeper, and then 360 degrees on the inhale. So everything in all directions, the front of the chest, under your arms, deep in your armpits, shoulder blades, and then from the solar plexus out, so that you let go of the belly at the end of the inhale. And then as you exhale, just let it all release. We'll talk more about the exhale in future pranayama videos, right? But right now, just for that inhale, 360 degrees, so you feel it everywhere, and going down and out to the sides, and then releasing. I'm also going to talk about the secondary muscle, the tertiary muscles, and your neck, but I'm not going to do that today. We'll get to that. So if you're feeling any sort of tightness in the neck or the shoulders, soften that a little bit, okay? Let's do just a few more breaths together. You can always take this with you, right, for the rest of the day, thinking about that sphere breathing, like 360 degrees, you get bigger. And it's just a metaphor. I talked about the more mechanics of breathing earlier, but this is just a metaphor. Just use this metaphor. One more breath. Okay, so see if you can take this with you today. Do another 5 minutes somewhere in your day. And then when you finish, you want to stop and notice, what is the effect on my nervous system? That stopping and noticing literally starts to stitch. It starts to create neuroplastic changes in your brain. It literally stitches changes into your brain. That's stopping and noticing. That's just as important as any technique. Right? So these subtle, nuanced aspects of pranayama are just as important as the techniques, and in my opinion, they don't get as widely taught and disseminated as the techniques themselves. And really, this is the stuff that precedes the techniques that we're going through. If you haven't seen all the videos, get on my Subtle Health Facebook page. All of the videos are there. Please leave comments and questions, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Namaste. Mm-hmm.